Good evening, Alison Dickinson. How are you doing?
I'm really well, Denise. Great to see you. Really great to
And
see you.
you. And yeah, thank you so much for joining us for our online show. It's been so much fun.
Good. Well, I've enjoyed watching the other artist videos, so that's been great. Really, really
Yeah,
good.
it's been interesting. Yeah, everyone's kind of getting to know each other now as we as during the lockdown, which is great.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm going to start. How did you start painting? Were you always an artist, or did you go to art college? How did it begin?
Well, I was one of those kids at school. I loved art. It was my favorite subject, and I was really good at it. But I just didn't think about going to art college, and I'm really not quite sure why. I remember being asked by the art teacher, and I just said, no, I don't think so. But
Really?
I don't. I think maybe it was, probably a combination of lack of confidence, or just, like other people have said, well, you'll never make a living out of art, kind of thing.
Yeah.
That sort of thing.
Yeah.
So, but I really, worked my way into it over the years, and just kept up art wherever I was living. I sort of moved around quite a lot in my 20s. I moved over to England, lived in London for a bit, was in Norfolk for a bit.
Wow.
Then I moved up to Scotland. Been here for a really long time, too many years to go into. But
because you are Irish, you're born in Ireland. So
yeah, born in County Fermanagh. Yeah. Born and bred and buttered, on a farm. So very rural upbringing.
Oh, lovely.
And we all had to help out, of course, and
And were your family creative?
Well, I would say my mum had a really great sense of colour, and she was a great gardener. My granny was a great gardener, very good at arranging things. Interestingly, my dad passed away a few years ago, and I was looking at one of his school reports, and he came first in his class in art.
Wow.
And I never ever knew that. He never talked about it.
Wow.
I've got a cousin who is an artist. Actually, two first cousins who are creative. So maybe it is in the family, yeah.
Yeah, isn't your daughter? She went to art college as well, didn't she?
Yeah, she went to art college. She went to Dundee, and now she's working away. She's called Alice Campbell, and I'm very proud of her, actually. So she did the right thing. So really, it was just a question of working away and developing confidence, and encouraged by friends, family, and gallery owners. That was really great. And I would say the things that made a difference to me are, firstly, I entered open exhibitions like the Royal Scottish Academy. And to my great surprise, I got in, which was really good. Or something else called the RSW. I entered the show in County Donegal. And I got a solo show very early on. That was about 15 years ago in the Higher Bridges Gallery in Enniskillen. And I sold everything in that exhibition. So that was, a great confidence booster. And then from that, I was able to build my own studio in the garden. That made a massive difference, so that I had somewhere to,
Was this in Scotland, or?
This is in Scotland, in Edinburgh, yeah.
How did you settle down there if you were traveling a lot? What was it? Is that where you met your husband?
No, although he is a Campbell, but he's not Scottish. He's actually Jamaican. I don't know. We just fancied it. We'd both been to Edinburgh, and we both really liked it. So we just when you're a bit younger, you don't really think about things too much. But it was a good place to be for both of us, and a good place to bring up our daughter, I think. And I suppose the other thing is that, I entered an open exhibition in Enniskillen. I got a 2-week residency at the Tyrone Guthrie Centre, and that was a great experience. So, it's just been quite exciting, really, the different things that happen.
So when would you say that? How long have you been an artist? Would you say that you were always an artist, or is it really just when you had these shows that you got more confident to say that?
Yes, I think it was giving the confidence. I mean, I have always been interested in art and sort of been working away, but I just wasn't really showing it, you know, like probably quite a few people. And I think if you haven't been to art college, you know, entering these open exhibitions and that sort of things does give you confidence. So I would say, you know, for about 15 years, I've been a serious artist. Because, you know, you need to devote time to it. That's the thing. It takes quite a lot of time and energy as well. The other thing I really enjoyed is getting to know, you know, gallery owners like yourself. We met only 3 years ago.
I know. Yeah.
At the Edinburgh Art Fair.
Yeah. And I mean, it really does, like some people don't realize how important it is when you buy a piece from an artist. It really does make you feel confident about your work and think, well, maybe I should stay at this.
Well, I think most artists are sort of racked with self-doubt, aren't they?
Exactly.
You know? But I think in a way that's quite good, because if you're too complacent, then you're just maybe churning stuff out, and you know, you're always striving for better things, aren't you? So I think ultimately it is a really great thing. But I do enjoy everything to do with art. I mean, I love painting, but I also like dealing with framers, and it's lovely when you get to know people in galleries that you can deal really well with, and you know, that's really nice to have those relationships and nice feedback from clients and things. So it's really great.
So important, isn't it?
Yeah.
And tell me, Alison, how did you find lockdown? Did you experiment with new work, or how did it affect your work?
Well, it was a very interesting time. I mean, really, in the scheme of things, it was fine for me. You know, some people had such a traumatic time, didn't they? And you know, such a worrying time for so many people. The main effect on me was that I couldn't use my studio, because I have a studio in a shared building.
Oh, your studio, look at your video. It's a great studio, isn't it?
Yeah, it is really good. The light's really good, and I really, you know, just enjoy being able to leave all my stuff out and everything. So anyway, lockdown happened, and at midnight we got an email saying you're not allowed back in the building.
No.
Luckily, I'd done this, you know, when I thought lockdown was going to happen, I whizzed across and got all my stuff. So that was really lucky. And so I basically set myself up on the kitchen table again, which is where I started. You know,
there was no stopping you.
But the other nice thing was that our daughter came back for lockdown from Glasgow. So she was painting in her bedroom. I was in the kitchen. Husband, and he got the spare room, but that's because he's a writer and he needs peace and quiet and things. So luckily, I don't mind interruptions, but sometimes it was a bit much if somebody was trying to bake, you know, bread on the same table as me painting and things.
Well, your new work is brilliant. I mean, what I love seeing is what's come out of lockdown, and I've said this before. The work that has come out of it is just, there's really something special about it, because you've kind of, all the artists have been forced to take their time and look at it more and study it. And that's one thing I love. You have such a distinctive style and such a quirkiness to your work. But I love seeing your new landscape pieces, because I haven't had any of them in the gallery before.
Yeah, so that's quite exciting. That it's sort of a new little direction. I suppose the landscapes, you know, they're places that I feel a connection with, basically. And the one behind you is of Anna McCarrig Loch, which is the most beautiful lake, which is on the Tyrone Guthrie estate, that residency I was telling you about.
Yeah.
And, it was just so still and peaceful in the early morning. And, you know, when I look at that painting, it just reminds me of the happy time that I spent there.
Yeah.
But the other landscapes are really based in Fermanagh or County Donegal. So places
the residency had a huge influence on your landscape work.
It was just great having that time. And, you know, talking about studios, I had the most amazing studio there. It was absolutely massive. You could have a party in there, no problem at all. There were three easels, and I had a sink is a really important thing for an artist. And I had a sink you could have a bath in. Honestly, it was huge. And it was just so lovely having all that room, and you could just lay stuff out, put stuff on the floor, hang stuff up. and then, you know, go out walking around the grounds. You know, there were acres and acres of grounds. Walk around this loch, and you know, it's just
Good for
brilliant
so.
time. And then you had food cooked for you in the evening.
Really?
And then
Wow.
just, and I had a wee cottage to stay in as well. It was just idyllic,
God.
absolutely idyllic.
People are going to go to that. You're promoting it so well. That sounds amazing.
And then these paintings behind me here, these were sort of my lockdown paintings, where I was, you know, at the kitchen table, just really, I suppose, like everybody else, developing sort of nesting instincts and thinking about, you know, what's around me. And I was growing seedlings, and I did try sourdough, which failed miserably. But
I did that as well. Yeah, terrible.
And then the daily walks, they became really important, the walks and cycles, and discovered all these amazing cycle paths around Edinburgh that were old railway tracks. And the other picture behind me of all of the birds.
Yeah, the blackbird
was incredible.
You have a blackbird in a lot of your paintings, don't you?
Yeah, I've got a thing about birds. I do really like them. I suppose another thing I really like are hills and little houses on hills, which I think probably comes from my upbringing. So, you know, I like the wilderness, I like wild things, but I also like more cultivated areas as well, you know, gardens, flowers, farmland, farm buildings, that sort of thing. So,
and what type of, like, how do you start a piece? Do you sketch it out first, or do you?
Well, yes, I do start with sketches, and sometimes refer to photographs and things, but, you know, whatever I'm painting is never quite true to life. So, you know, sometimes the photos are really bad. I'm not a great photographer. You can ask my husband about that. But I think sometimes that's quite good, because I'm not wanting to do it a completely true representation. And sometimes I'm using memory as well. I have tried to paint on plein air, but I've just found it doesn't really work.
Yeah, it works for some artists, doesn't it? And
maybe I'm not organized enough. I have a really big, you know, backpack with lots and lots of every single paintbrush and you know, color of paint that I would need. But I just find it's better for me just to have all my stuff all around me, and just to have that flexibility, really.
And what type of mediums do you like using?
Well, I started in oils originally, and you know, that took me quite a while to sort of get into using them. Then I started using acrylics, which again took me quite a long time to get into. And now I find I can go between the two. Yeah. Although, you know, if I'm painting in oils, I'll, you know, probably have 2 or 3 paintings on the go, and then switch to acrylics. With oils, it's interesting, you know, I'm able to paint a little bit more freely than in acrylics. So depending on what you're painting, you know, the different medium.
The landscape work, is that acrylic and oil?
It's mainly oils, actually.
Okay.
The other thing is I like working on boards most of the time, because I like to be able to dig into the surface.
And be as rough as you can.
Canvas is a bit more springy, but again, you know, I get used to it. So it just really depends. But it's interesting. The other thing is sometimes I like to use collage and printmaking as well in a painting, just to create different dynamics within them. So I've used all sorts of things for collage. I've used newspapers. I've used the Impartial Reporter, which is the must be the best title for a newspaper ever. County Fermanagh. Ripped up bits of that, or like an old dress pattern, you know, that sort of like tracing paper, but it's brown. And I quite like that, sometimes in landscapes and things. And I quite like sometimes, you know, that I know what's in the collage, but other people don't.
Yeah, so, keep that to yourself.
Yeah. And then with the still life work, I quite often like playing with perspective, so that it's as if you're looking down on the table, you know, and things are sort of flattened and 2D, and things are slightly out of kilter. I quite like sort of the effect of that. And again, you know, some of the objects have a special meaning for me, but, you know, maybe for the onlooker, they wouldn't know about that. But I do hope sometimes, you know, looking at the still lives, the person looking at it is thinking, well, I wonder, you know, who was sitting at that table, who's just had that cup of tea, who's planted those seedlings, and, you know, maybe looking through the open window and the story behind the painting.
And that's what it's all about, is just if you can get lost in that moment or a memory, that's what art should do, really. That is a distraction.
I know. Yes, just making that connection with people.
Yeah. And I presume you're back in your studio now.
Yes, I am back in my studio, which is great.
Disciplined with times. Do you go in first thing in the morning and do you finish at 6 o'clock, or do you?
I'm an early bird. I like to get in early if I can. The one thing I really like doing is walking or cycling there. It takes about half an hour, and Edinburgh's a beautiful city, as you know, and I sort of skirt around the centre through the new town streets. So they're all sort of cobbled streets, Georgian buildings, and lots of lovely trees and everything. And it's just a great time just to get your head around, you know, right, where do I finish off? Where do I want to go? And that kind of thing. And yeah, it's really nice. Although interestingly, after lockdown, you know, you would have thought I would have been racing back to get into my studio, but I didn't really. It took me about 3 or 4 weeks. Well, first of all, we headed over to County Fermanagh as soon as we could.
Yeah.
Really to escape the city and, you know, have a change. And then when I got back, I still didn't really want to go to the studio. I just kept painting on the kitchen table. But I sort of, again, eased my way in. And I think quite a few people there, you know, were saying the same thing, you know, because there are all the rules and regulations about wearing masks and social distancing. But I think probably that's a reflection of how everybody was feeling, really.
Yeah. So are you still painting on the kitchen table now?
No, I'm absolutely not. And I'm really, really enjoying it. So I'm just really hoping it doesn't get shut again. I really am, because, but it's sort of interesting, isn't it, the effect that it's had on everybody.
Yeah, but it seems like you've adjusted really well to every situation. And the latest work, I think, is just stunning. It's so beautiful. I love that piece behind you with the birds and the busyness of it. It's fab. Yeah, it's gorgeous.
I know.
So, and there's always the color blue in your work. I mean, it's a very
I know.
Is there any reason for that, or is it just your favorite color?
I don't know. It's just, I have a thing about blues and greens. I don't know why, but I just do really like them. I think, I don't know. And sort of like almost like a turquoisey kind of blue, so which is a bluey green. And in fact, I'm wearing a bluey green, aren't I? So I don't know why. It must be my Irish roots coming out of me.
Yeah, exactly.
Must be.
And last question: who would be your favorite artist? Anyone that has inspired you over the years?
Well, there's an artist who sadly died young. She died in her 40s, called Joan Erdley. I don't know whether you've ever heard of her.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
She was born in England, but then she moved to Scotland, and she was very much seen as a Scottish painter, but she painted these amazing landscapes. She's really worth looking up, absolutely incredible. And there are pictures of her, when it was blowing a gale, in the water, right in the water's edge, in her wellies, painting on an easel. She was somebody who got right out into the elements. And it really came through into her work. There was a retrospective of her work in the Gallery of Modern Art here in Edinburgh, and it was so inspirational. And the other thing that she did was she lived in Glasgow when there were the old tenement buildings there. Well, there still are old tenement buildings, but she painted the street kids. And they're just so full of life. And, it was just a shame she died so young. There's another painter called Barbara Ray who You know her, yes.
Yeah, it's just, there's a few when I bring your work to art fairs, there's customers that do compare you as well. You know, oh, this reminds me.
Serious.
Yeah, so
I'm very flattered.
That name rings a bell. It's
But she's Scottish, but she has links with West of Ireland. I think she goes to Achill every year, and I just really like her palette. I like the way she works, and I suppose as far as still lives go, I love the work, especially the early work of William Scott.
Yeah,
you know, just really amazing, and the simplicity of his frying pan and pots and his bottles and things. And I don't really know, he was actually brought up in Enniskillen.
No, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
His father was from Enniskillen, but he was born in Glasgow, I think, or Scotland, moved to Enniskillen. Then his dad died when he was 15 in a fire. He was trying to save people. And, you know, he was, you know, was seen as a talented artist at that age. And then the council paid for him to go to art college.
Wow.
It was amazing. And then he went on to become...
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm just, very inspired by his work. So, but I mean, art is just so fantastic. It's such a broad field. And there's, you know, I just find...
Well, isn't it? Especially in these times where we're locked down, and it's such a great distraction, you know, from what is going on, and for our mental health as well.
I think so. And even if you're looking at it online, I think it's yes, it can be very uplifting. I know here the galleries are, you know, have started to open up, and it's just so fantastic to be able to go and look at art and you know, enjoy it again.
I think everyone should visit an art gallery at least once a week. Obviously, when we're not in lockdown.
I know.
Well, Alison, thank you so much. That was really wonderful to get to know the background of the latest work. It's absolutely fantastic, and well done on this week. It's been such good fun, and hopefully I'll see you in the gallery one day.
Yes, hopefully. Thanks very much, Denise. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.